Welcome everybody to the STAR kickoff meeting for January 25th, 2019. I'm Lori Martin, and with me is my colleague and fellow STAR trainer, Laura Sherwood. And we are recording this webinar because although we gave the kickoff meeting as a live virtual meeting this morning, we had a number of technical difficulties and some people were not able to access the meeting. So in this way, you are welcome to hear this recorded version and at least be able to see the slides and get the content that we wanted you to know about. So our agenda for this kickoff meeting, after introductions, which now that we're doing a recorded version, I think we'll be skipping. We'll talk a little bit about what evidence-based reading instruction is, how long Illinois has committed to STAR and EBRI, and then we will take you out to the STAR website and show you some navigational strategies once you're on the STAR toolkit, and then we'll show you some diagnostic reading assessment materials. So this is our STAR cohort for this year. We are really excited to be having 38 participants. We've divided you into 7 teams, and we sent you a handout that has the participant list and the team list on it. You do not have people's email addresses on that handout. However, you will be able to communicate with everybody in the cohort through the discussion forum that's part of the STAR Online Toolkit. We have 17 adult education programs represented. Most of the people going through STAR training are classroom instructors, either ABE or ESL instructors, but we do have a few administrators and coordinators and people from literacy programs as well. Laura and I have both been STAR trainers for several years. We are certified STAR trainers. We have provided STAR training many times in Illinois as well as other states. We had an icebreaker earlier this morning, but this is being recorded, so you can't answer the question. We're just going to go ahead. And Laura will have some comments about evidence-based reading instruction.
Thank you, Lori. You know, STAR training is all about EBRI, which is evidence-based reading instruction. And these techniques or methods are effective. They do indeed work. Lori and I have both used them in the classroom with real students, and we've seen how they work. They help readers improve their reading skills. And the evidence is not just what's been done in Illinois or by the ALRC or what we found in our classrooms. The evidence is in the reading research. And that means rigorous empirical research done on a national level, in some cases in a university setting. And there has been agreement among experts based on the data that was gathered during this research. And then there was action research done, expert practitioners that used what was reported in the reading research and tried it out in their classrooms. They gathered data and analyzed the data as well to see what worked and what didn't. So the evidence is strong and it continues to take place. There is research that's reviewed on a yearly basis. So you're going to learn more about this in Module 3, which is coming up ahead. And you'll have the opportunity to download the reports directly from the toolkit so you can read, about it if you're so inclined. So the reading research identified 4 components or sub-skills of reading that students need in order to become competent readers. And these components are alphabetics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So you're going to learn how to diagnose students' skills in each of these components. That's in part 1 of the training. And then you will learn how to provide instruction based on students' needs, and that is in part 2 of the training. STAR target populations is focused on approximate reading grade levels of 4.0 to 8.9. Those are considered intermediate level students. And in the adult ed world, that would be low and high intermediate ABE students, advanced ESL students, and maybe high intermediate ESL students, depending on whether or not those high intermediate ESL students need to still focus on oral language. These intermediate level students may have difficulties in one or more of those reading components. And the important thing is, if they don't receive instruction in an area of need, they may not make progress and move into ASC or post-secondary work or employment or meet their own personal goals. We'll give you just a very brief history of STAR in Illinois. It is actually a national initiative from OCTAE, and Illinois has been participating since the beginning, which is well over 10 years ago. And Illinois is still on board with EBRI to improve students' reading skills. There have been hundreds of people, instructors, admins, coordinators, who have come through STAR training. And now a new STAR has been born with this new hybrid training. And Illinois was part of the pilot last year. Lori and I worked with a cohort through the pilot. This new training, the modules, will reference the college and career readiness standards, and also it meets the essential components of reading as found in WIOA. So you will see as you go through the modules how the different components work with College and Career Readiness Standards, or CCRS. Alphabetics and fluency are foundational skills. Vocabulary and comprehension are part of the reading anchors and language anchors. If any of you have been through the standards training, you are probably already familiar with these foundational skills and anchor skills. If not, you will be when you go through this training and then through the standards training.
So let's see what STAR looks like, what STAR will mean for you and for your program. On the screen is a picture of a shopping cart. It's a newly redesigned shopping cart. This morning we asked people to send a chat message on what they observed, but I'll give you a second to just look at that cart and think about it and have an impression of it. And probably what's going through your mind are things like this. The cart will tip over because the wheels aren't at the same level. Another problem that you may have noticed is there's no bottom shelf for those large items, the big boxes and, packages of paper towels and things like that. There's no seat for your child, or I always think of it as the seat for my purse. And the grid on the side of the basket looks kind of wide. It kind of looks like things, especially small items, might fall out. Often when we're looking at something that's a new design, it seems strange and may seem uncomfortable. We automatically are a little suspicious of it. And in this metaphor, the shopping cart is really standing for your reading instruction practices, so how you teach reading. And through the STAR modules, you're going to be learning a lot of new techniques, new concepts for teaching your students how to read better. And so in a sense, you're kind of redesigning your current shopping cart. At the same time, you'll be working with your program administrator and possibly other teachers or other staff in your program to remodel your store or your program. So if we want this new shopping cart to work, maybe those wheels that are different sizes, maybe we have to build a special track for those to go on. Maybe the child seat isn't necessary because we're going to add a child care room at our supermarket. In other words, the techniques that you're going to be learning about for evidence-based reading instruction may not work comfortably in your current program setting, and it may take adjusting or even making big changes to the program. And that's why you'll be working with your administrator and with others in your program to get those systems changed. There are different modules through the STAR training that will ask you to do some planning and discussion with others in your program and set some goals for making these changes. So what will your classroom look like when you're implementing evidence-based reading instruction? Well, these are pictures from my classroom a few years ago. When I started doing STAR training, I went back into the classroom and taught several semesters at a program in the Chicago area so that I could test out and use and really refine my skills so that they would be aligned with evidence-based reading instruction practices. So the pictures here show you different activities that I'm doing in my classroom with different groups of students. In one picture is a fluency reading group. In another picture, students are collaboratively working on vocabulary. And in the bottom picture, they're doing a comprehension, they're practicing a comprehension strategy in a group activity. So your classroom may wind up looking like this, with different groups assembling to work on specific reading component skills that they need. Your lesson plan, your lesson outline might wind up looking something like this, where you actually have time slots designated for direct instruction on specific reading skills and working with specific groups of students on those skills, and then changing and working with other groups. So this is how differentiated instruction works, and that is the recommended approach. And you'll learn more about that through the modules in the STAR training.
All right, we'd like to give you just a quick overview of the training. Lori and I talked with many of you by phone already in the last 2 weeks, so I'm just going to quickly go through this with you. We are now in part 1 that started today, and the focus of part 1 is on the diagnostic assessment process and some background information on what EBRI is. So you will learn through the modules how to do diagnostic reading assessments on students in all 4 of the reading components, and you will be asked to do the assessments on several students so that you can experience it yourself. There will be 1 face-to-face meeting for programs. April 12th will be the date at the ALRC for those programs that are closer to the northern area. And April 18th will be at SWIC, Southwestern Illinois College, which is way down south, almost to St. Louis, and that will be the place for people in the southern area to attend. So the training runs from January through the end of April for part 1, and then we will take the summer off. Part 2 will begin in September. You will need to register for part 2. That will be in a different fiscal year. It'll be in FY20. So we'll have another registration form for you to fill out. And then we will kick that off in September. Part 2 focuses on instructional techniques. So you will be learning how to do evidence-based instruction in each of the reading components, how to group students, and implement differentiated instruction based on students' needs. There will be a face-to-face meeting November 8th, and we will have one both at the ALRC and at Frontier College for the Southern programs. One of us will go down to Frontier and the other will stay here. For both of these parts, when you have completed all of the modules, all of the portfolio entries, come to the face-to-face training and everything that is required, you will receive a certificate for 24 hours of professional development for part 1 and another certificate for part 2. And the only other thing that I was going to say was that at the end you will also receive a STAR completion certificate that shows that you have completed STAR training. All right, we are actually going to take a look at the syllabus, and that was sent to you in an email. If you have your hard copy with you, you can follow along, but we're also going to bring it up on the screen. And we're going to switch to that. Here we go. The first page has some general information about how to proceed through the online modules. You can go through these modules with a partner or with a group if you want. Some programs did that during the pilot, or you can just, view them any time of day or night at home individually. There are discussion forums that we will ask you to participate in, and you'll see that when Lori actually takes us into this toolkit. We ask you to participate at least weekly by posting a comment, or if you have a question. You'll see the different training roles on the syllabus, and there's also a little section on who to contact for assistance when you have technical issues. We'll show you that on the toolkit. Otherwise, if it's a content area question or assignment, anything else regarding the training, you can contact Lori or myself, and our emails and phone numbers are right there at the bottom of the first page. So let's take a look at the actual syllabus. The chart lists all of the modules, and this is similar to what you're going to see on your dashboard of the toolkit. So the first page, we're looking at modules 1 through 9. There's a brief description of what the module is, and then the format. The majority of them are online. There's a time estimate, which has been based on feedback from people who went through the pilot and the beta test of this toolkit when it was first available. The next column is who will be doing these modules. In part 1, it's pretty much all participants. It changes in part 2. And then the last column, this is something we want you to keep an eye on. This is not in the toolkit. And these are the completion dates. So actually, if you look at Module 1, we had hoped that everyone would get a chance to do that by January 24th, which for us today, since it's the 25th, that would have been yesterday. But because there were some issues with accessing the toolkit, we don't think anybody had been able to do that. So we are actually doing Module 2 right now. The kickoff meeting was Module 2, so you don't need to go into that when you're in the toolkit either. You can start with 1, and then you can skip over 2 and go right into Module 3. Now, Module 3 and 4 are simply watching online narrated PowerPoints. There may be some video in there also. That's for all participants, and you can see that we're hoping that you can take the time to do that and have those completed by February 8th. Module 5 is in orange, and that's because this is different than the other modules. It is involving a team meeting. So I'm going to talk about that separately when we get out of the syllabus. But this would be a meeting for your team, and you would be talking about challenges to implementing EBRI. Now, if you look at the next set of modules, 6 through 9, 6 through 7 are highlighted in blue because what we recommend is that you would watch the alphabetics assessment online, watch the video, the narrated PowerPoint, and then watch the fluency assessment module online, and then get yourself ready to do assessments on 2 students. So you can set up an appointment, or maybe before or after class, you can work with these 2 students individually. The assessments are done in a one-on-one basis. And you can give each of these two students the alphabetics assessment and then the fluency assessment. So you would repeat that for each of those two students. After you do those assessments, you would go back into the toolkit and you would enter in the results and answer some reflections in the portfolio. And when Lori demonstrates the toolkit, you'll see those two pieces of each of those modules. So we're hoping for alphabetics and fluency to be done by March 6th, and then vocabulary and comprehension, which are modules 8 and 9, will work the same way. You'll watch the video, you'll learn how to do it, and then you will get your materials ready. Practice doing both vocabulary and comprehension, hopefully on those same two students that you were able to do the alphabetics and fluency assessments on. So overall, to practice each of these assessments, you will need just a minimum of 2 students. You can do more if you'd like, but we want to have at least 2 students done per person in the training. Now, if you look over at the bottom of that page, you see a little stop sign. The reason why that is there is because you cannot go any further in the toolkit until Lori or myself have reviewed all of your assessments. We want to make sure that you are understanding them and doing them the way that they need to be done before moving on into Module 10. So once those submissions have been approved in your portfolio on the toolkit, you will be able to access Module 10. We will open that up for you. And that then is bringing it all together and showing you how to do a complete diagnostic assessment. You will actually do that with at least 2 students. Now, this would be different students than what you had already done. And you will do the complete diagnostic assessment. We estimate 40 to 45 minutes per student, depending on their levels, and just from our own experience, that's what we feel it will take. You will do that and then go into your portfolio and put in the results of those assessments in each of the components. And then you will be done with that portion of the module. We want you to have these done by April 10th, which is right before day 1, our first face-to-face training. And that face-to-face training, we're going to talk about the diagnostic assessment process, maybe some challenges, some successes that you had, and then you will learn how to identify instructional priorities looking at each student's profile. So from there, you will learn how to group students and identify instructional levels for the different reading components. And that's what day 1 will look like. It will be a full day of training. Again, April 12th from 9 to 4 at the ALRC, and April 18th for the Central Southern programs at SWIC. And that will delay the start a little bit because some people have to travel a little bit further. Then Module 12 is, again, another action planning meeting to address implementation issues. That is the end, then, of Part 1, and that's why we have a stop sign there as well, because we will be stopping then. So everybody should be done by April 26th. And again, if you've completed everything, you've come to the face-to-face training, you will receive that nice certificate for 24 hours of professional development. Part 2 will continue. We'll take the summer off for, well, we'll still be working, but we'll take the summer off from STAR training, which you will probably appreciate. And then we get into Part 2. We've included this part of the syllabus just so you can get a feel for what Part 2 is going to look like. The important thing about Part 2 is that the focus is on those instructional modules. So in order to begin instruction on your students, you will need, before you work with the instructional modules, to do the complete diagnostic assessment on all of your intermediate level students in your classroom. So if you have a multi-level class, you want to give these assessments only to those who fall into the 4.0 to 8.9, because those are the ones that will benefit from the STAR instructional strategies, and that's what we are focusing on in the training. So that will be done ahead of time. We will review that during that kickoff webinar, which we've already decided. It's Friday, September 13th. Hopefully it will just be an hour. And then you will enter in all of your students and group them and identify them for instruction, which is what we will begin then after that kickoff webinar. So you can see, starting with Module 14, you will begin learning about effective instruction using STAR methods. Excuse me. Again, it's by component, starting with vocabulary. You watch the module, and then you're going to actually plan and teach vocabulary according to the STAR methods. Same for fluency, alphabetics, and then finally comprehension. So by November 6th, you should have been through the instructional pieces for all of the components. There will be one more program team meeting that you will meet with the other people in your program, and then come back for a full day of face-to-face training, sharing those experiences on day 2. That will be at the ALRC on November 8th, and also we've scheduled it at Frontier College on the same day. One of us will be going down to Frontier College, and one of us will be at the ALRC. After that, there is another stopping point after another program meeting, and then you will get into developing an instructional routine. We'll talk about coaching later when the time comes. That will take place, and then by December 13th, we have actually the final stop sign. And again, everyone who has finished all of the modules, the portfolio postings, attended the face-to-face trainings, will have completed STAR training. And you will receive another certificate of 24 hours of professional development and a final STAR completion certificate. So that is kind of the roadmap of where we're going. We just ask you, to really stay as best you can following along with those dates. Now, I want to talk just briefly about Module 5, which is the first program team meeting, because that works a little bit differently. There's 2 parts to this module. There is a 45-minute online video to watch, narrated PowerPoint. You can watch this as a group before your meeting discussion, or you can watch it individually and then come together and talk about what it is that you've viewed, that you've watched. This could be a face-to-face meeting. It could be virtual. For those of you who are, doing this on your own, there isn't anybody else from your program taking the training, you could email your administrator or have a phone call. Administrators know that this is coming. They have received an email that we have sent out explaining to them that they will need some involvement here for these team meetings. And so they will be expecting you. And the purpose of that is to discuss some programmatic issues. Remember, Lori talked about redesigning your store. It's not just about at the classroom level, it's also at the program level. So those challenges will be identified for your program, and then one person for each program will make a post. So those challenges will be summarized in a post in the team portfolio. Now, teams in the toolkit that have multiple programs, for example, Elgin has 3 people. There is 1 person from SAUC in that team. Elgin needs to make a post, and Sauk Valley needs to make a post. So it's 1 post per program. For a big program like SWIC, who has, I think, 8 people enrolled in this, they will get together and choose 1 person to make that portfolio entry. You do not all need to make the entry. In fact, we really don't want you to. So one per program. Yeah, so if you're all by yourself on a team, then you are the one who's going to make that post. but you talk with your administrator or STAR team leader ahead of time. And Lori is actually going to take you into this module so you can see those two parts. We would like to see this be completed by February 15th. Okay, I've talked a little bit about already when we looked at the syllabus. Part 2 will have a kickoff webinar on September 13th. We do want those diagnostic reading assessments of all those intermediate level students who will be, the slide says spring, but it should be fall, in your fall term classes. And those of you that are instructors, that's really important, because then you'll know who needs what instruction. Administrators or coordinators, you can certainly come alongside those instructors and help them assess their students. If you have volunteer tutors that can be trained, they can come alongside and help, or other staff people. That's something that you will have to decide on when you have your program team meeting. Again, in-person meetings November 8th, either at the ALRC or at Frontier College. Okay, one other area that I want to talk to you about is throughout the training you're going to watch these modules, and these modules were all designed using explicit instruction, which is the method that we recommend in STAR to teach to each of the components of reading. So what that means is that in the modules, you will be listening to an explanation of the technique. What is the technique? And then you will see it modeled with examples, and you will see videos. For example, you will see an assessor doing a fluency assessment or an alphabetics assessment. You'll have a chance to see what it looks like to give the assessments. And the same thing will be true of when we get into the instructional modules. You will have an opportunity to practice online in several of the modules. For many of them, you will have an assignment to try it out, and that is, for example, doing a diagnostic assessment in each of the components. Along with that, you will then enter in some of the data or some of the lesson planning that you did, and then there will be questions that will help you reflect on what you've done, and those will also be posted in your portfolio, and that is an individual portfolio. Everyone going through the training will be doing that. You can get support from others in your STAR team if you are doing it with other members from your program. You can also seek out help from other people who have been through STAR training. And then, of course, Lori and I are there. We are here to coach you and to help you in any way we can. We will be monitoring your progress through the training through our own dashboard and looking at what you've been doing.
So now we're going to take you out to the STAR Toolkit and give you an idea of what you'll see in there. So I'm going to the STAR Toolkit website, which is https://star.links.ed.gov. And I'm logging in using a special login so that I can show you what it looks like from the participant side. So when you log in, you will see a page that has your team on it. Now, the very first time you log in, you should see something that asks you to fill in a participant
agreement
form. Please do that. And then once you've done that, that's in. It has questions about like you and your program. If you're not sure of how to answer some questions with numbers, just do your best. Make estimates, move on, submit it, and get it out of the way. And then you'll have your dashboard. So this is what a user dashboard looks like. Up at the top is a bar with some different menus on it. And I want to point out a few of those to begin with. So first is the discussion forum. So I'm clicking on that. It takes me to the page with the discussion forums. And this is where you can add a discussion by either by posting to the whole cohort or by posting only to your team. It's also where you can respond to discussions that have already been posted. So I actually posted this a few days ago, Welcome to STAR. And when I click it, you'll see that we have a number of people who have replied. So we've had a reply from Vanessa, Monica, Leslie, Rhonda, Diana, Brenda. I responded then to Brenda's post. Okay. We heard from Peggy, Bonnie, Peggy again, Julie, Carrie, Jose, Colleen, Angelique. See, lots and lots of posts. Many of these were actually made following our kickoff meeting a little earlier today. So if you have not posted yet, we invite you to go in and add your comments as well. There will be new discussion forum questions and postings frequently. So we ask you to check that on at least a weekly basis and submit your own responses, your own questions. You can comment on other people's posts, ask questions about other people's comments. It's really the way that we will use to communicate throughout our Illinois STAR cohort this year. So that was the discussion forum. Also, up at the top on your dashboard menu, you have a tab for resources. This resources button allows you to access all of the downloadable resources that are included in the STAR training. I'm going to show you in a minute how there are resources attached to each module, but this resource list is the grand, full, comprehensive list of all the resources. So you'll see, for example, articles and books on evidence-based reading instruction, resources for diagnostic assessment, resources for vocabulary instruction, professional articles and books, resources for fluency, etc. Down toward the bottom are also resources for state leads. And those of you who have administrative responsibilities at your program, you might be interested in taking a look at some of these as well, particularly the research on the implementation. So that's where you find the full list of resources. The last thing I want to show you is the help. So when you have a technical problem with the STAR toolkit, the preferred way to get help is to go to your help button in your dashboard, and then under the welcome here, you see where it says technical issue report form. When you click on that, you can send a tech request to the STAR help desk. Keep in mind that Laura Sherwood and I are not the STAR help desk. We don't have anything to do with the technology or with this particular learning management system. We're here as STAR trainers, but where the tech things are concerned, the preferred way to get help is to go directly to the source, and that's to the STAR National Office through this tech request. So on the tech request, you'll fill in the fields and describe the problem that you're having and submit your request for help. And then somebody will get back to you just as soon as they can with some suggestions or solutions, or they'll ask you to try something. I want to go back to the help page and show you that there are also FAQs on that page. So before you submit a tech request form, take a minute and browse the questions that are answered under the FAQ section, because it may save you time and you may find that your question has already been solved there. So that's the help. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. And now I'm going to go into a few of the modules and just point out a few of the features. So we'll go into Module 1. And Module 1 consists of a short survey, which you see here. I'm actually not going to click it to open it, but you can open it and please take the survey. And then you will have 2 very brief videos to listen to. The first one is Mark Kearns. Mark was a STAR trainer from Wisconsin for a number of years, and now he's on the STAR National Development Team. So he'll welcome you, and then there's also a welcome message from Cheryl Keenan. Cheryl Keenan is our head person at the Department of Education, watching over and supporting adult education. And it was Cheryl's vision that started STAR more than 10 years ago. And she, in her position at OCTAE, has continued to support evidence-based reading instruction and to promote STAR and to allocate funding for STAR. So please also listen to her message. And then that is it for Module 1. And then you will come back out to your dashboard. And you can skip Module 2 because that's what this webinar is that you're listening to. And you can go right to Module 3, what is EBRI? So I'll show you that because I want to point out this blue button on the right-hand side that says watch this module 45 minutes. When you click that, that will open the narrated slideshow. If you've already begun it, you can resume where you left off. If this is a fresh beginning for you, it will just load. And so this is what the slideshow, what the narrated slideshow would look like. To navigate this, I want to point out a couple of features. First of all, in the upper right, left-hand corner, you have a menu button. And when you click that, it allows you to go section to section within this slideshow. So if you get into the middle and you want to, return to a particular topic or slide, you can click on menu and jump back to the piece that you're interested in reviewing. Up in the top of the right-hand corner, you have a button that says Resources. These are the resources that are specific to this module. So although they're included on that big resource list that I just showed you, these are the ones that are specific to this Module 3, what is evidence-based reading instruction. And in particular, some of these resources give you the research background about the evidence-based reading instruction and why certain practices have been included in STAR training. So always check out the resources, and during the module when you're listening to it and you hear them reference a particular resource, that's where you find them, okay?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, if you find that you need a resource because maybe we suggested it in a comment or something to a post, you can always just go into the module, click on the resources, download what you need, and then get out.
Right. So these are all downloadable. You can keep them, store them on your own computer, or upload them to your own Google Drive, or, whatever you want, so you can access things in the future as you wish. Another feature I'd like to show you is, again, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says Continuous Play Off. Do keep this off. You can turn it on, and that allows, then the slides kind of proceed on their own. The problem is that they don't stop when there's an actual activity that you have to do within the module or a quiz within the module. So keep it off and instead advance the slides using the next button that's in the bottom right-hand corner. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm clicking next. This is the beginning of the narrated video. You hear Mark talking. All right, so I'll stop that. You get the idea. There's closed captioning also available for you if you need that support. And you will just view and do the activities that it asks you to do during the slideshow. Often within these slideshows, there are embedded videos like this one. Sometimes there is narration over slides. Sometimes there are different hands-on activities that they ask you to do. When you finish that, you'll close it, and you will, in this case, you will go right to Module 4, either by clicking Module 4 here on the page or just returning to your dashboard. From the dashboard, you can click any of the modules. So you would go to Module 4. I want to go ahead and just show you Module 5. Laura Sherwood talked about that a minute ago. That's the program team meeting, where you're going to watch a module. You have the blue button. You'll click that. You'll view it. And then you will have some kind of a discussion, either face-to-face or over the phone or through email or whatever, with your administrator and others from your program who are involved with STAR. When you finish that, you will go to your portfolio and you'll record the challenges that it asks you to record. So I'm going to click that just to show you what that will look like. Record your challenges. And so here in Challenge 1, you will type something, and in Challenge 2, I'm going to just type something in there haphazardly, just running my fingers over the keyboard, and I will click Submit for Feedback. When I do that, what that does is that will send a message to my trainer that there's something there that they should go in and take a look at and provide some comments on. When I go back out to my dashboard, you will see that next to number 5, it says awaiting feedback. So the dashboard shows you as a participant what the status is of the various modules that you've gone through. Once the trainer goes in and gives a response, the trainer will approve that section as like a completed section. And then what will show up in the dashboard will say approved. So you will be able to kind of keep track of what you've submitted, what is still awaiting feedback, and what has been approved. You will, in most cases, be able to go on to the next module without waiting for approval, except when you get to the modules that have the stop signs on the syllabus. So, for example, when you get down to Module 9, you will submit your assignment for that into your portfolio, and you will not be able to access Module 10 until your trainer has approved your assignment. So when you look at your dashboard right now, you see Module 10, 11, 12, and 12A appear in gray. They are not accessible because they have prerequisites. So the blue ones are the modules you can access right now, and you should do them in order. And then Laura Sherwood and I will be going in and taking a look at what you've submitted and providing you with feedback, comments, and any kind of help that's needed along the way. I want to show you the first of the assessment modules, which is Module 6 for alphabetics. So when I open that, all of the assessment modules look similar. At the top, you have the blue button and the module video to watch. So watch that, because that's where you're going to learn how to do the assessments. You're going to see video demonstrations. You'll have some practice with that online, making sure you understand what the process is. And then you have an assignment to enter some stuff into your portfolio. And what that stuff is the assessment results for your students. So if you remember, Laura Sherwood said that for these modules on assessing alphabetics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, you're going to be practicing these assessment techniques on 2 students. So we'll call them student A and student B. So what we suggest is that you actually view the modules for alphabetics, and then you go and view the module for fluency. Watch those 2, and then sit with student A. Do both the alphabetics and fluency assessment. Then you'll go back into your, and you can also do it with student B. And then you'll go into your portfolio, and you're going to record those assessments. By record, we mean you're going to enter the assessments into the STAR Toolkit, into your portfolio. So when I click this record assessments, you will do this. You will add a new student. You'll click Add New Student. You'll type a name for that student. So I'm typing one of my dog's names. You'll enter a TABE or CASAS reading grade level equivalency. If you're not using a TABE or CASAS, perhaps you're working with an advanced ESL student and you have a Best Plus score, you will need to just estimate. If somebody is at an advanced ESL level, chances are that their grade level equivalency is somewhere around a 5th or 6th grade reading level. If you're working with someone who's a high intermediate ESL, I would go with an estimate of a 4th grade reading level. And then you will be entering some specific information about the alphabetics assessment that you gave. And this will make sense to you once you've gone through the module. So there are a number of different things to enter for that student. The system will retain the information that you enter. So if you put in alphabetics and fluency for your first student, Furley Martin, then later on you'll be able to call up Furley's profile, and you'll be able to add in his vocabulary and comprehension assessment results. So that way you can, if you're able to continue assessing the same student, you'll be able to enter everything into their profile. Once you enter that, you will submit. Okay, and when it's submitted, that means it will be stored in your profile. And then you will answer these reflection questions. What did you find out about the strengths and needs of these students? Did you conduct any basic phonics assessments? And what questions do you have? And again, you will submit your comments, your reflections, and that way your STAR trainer will be able to go in and provide feedback. If you're welcome to save as a draft. That's fine. That means you're not quite finished. You want to go back and add something in before you submit. That's just fine. But until you actually submit, your trainer will not be able to see your comments. So eventually, make sure that you submit. Mm-hmm. So that is what you can expect for each of these assessment modules. You'll have the module to view, and then you'll have the portfolio piece where you'll put in your student assessment results and answer those reflection questions. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is just that at the bottom of your dashboard, you also have an area that shows you discussion forums, You can see any activity that's going on in there. So we can see in the welcome message, it was initially posted by me, Lori Martin, and that there are 27 comments on it. You can see your own recent portfolio submissions. You will be able to see comments that your trainer has posted, so that can alert you that there are comments there that you should go in and take a look at. We are not planning to use the events area, so that is something you can just ignore. And then down at the very, very bottom, you again have buttons you can click to reach your dashboard or to log out or to get to your discussion forum, etc., etc. There's the Project Star at manhattanstrategy.com link in the very bottom left-hand corner. Right-hand corner. Yes, I do have problems with left and right. So it's in the right-hand corner. That is the email address to request help. However, we do really encourage and recommend that when you need help, you go up to the top of your dashboard toolbar and click the help up there so that you can use that technical issue report form again.
And that's once you can get into the toolkit. If
Yes.
you do have problems getting in initially, then you can email Project Star at Manhattan Strategy.
Right.
That's
Or email me or Laura Sherwood,
Yes.
and we will give you assistance. Getting people in is the first hurdle, and then once you're in, then it's up to the Star Tech team to help with technical issues at that point. So that is the toolkit, kind of the navigation that we wanted to show you. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint slides right now and just a little reminder that for each module that you go through, do make sure that you watch the module, because that's where the training is provided. That's where the content for you to learn is provided. Do the portfolio assignments. Until you've done all the assignments and gotten them approved, you will not be able to receive your certificates of completion. So those are important. We ask you to read and comment in the discussion forum on a weekly basis. That includes commenting on somebody's question, responding with your own experiences. You can post questions as well. You can, we really want you to use that discussion forum as a way to interact with everybody who's going through this STAR training. You have 38 colleagues in the state of Illinois. Some people are alone in their programs, others are working with groups of people from their program, and having all kinds of different instructional and administrative experiences. So we want you to really use each other. This is your chance to learn from each other. And, the discussion forum is the way that we'll be creating our community of learning. And then you are also able to view and comment on the assignments that other people in your STAR team post. So, for example, in the team that is Elgin Community College and Sauk Valley, you will be able to see each other's assignments and make comments on those if you wish to.
Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is talk to you about the Illinois EBRI Diagnostic Assessment Kit. You will need diagnostic assessment materials in order to do these assessments on the students, and that's coming up fairly quickly in part 1. The photo that you see on the screen is what the original kit looked like. There was one manila folder with the reader profile form, and then a different color folder with each of the reading components. In addition to this, every program should have a Bader reading and language inventory. This is an original book with all of the assessment pieces in it, and it has additional information that you may want to read about the assessments. There are 2 editions. Some programs may have the 6th edition, some may have the 7th. That is fine, one or the other. It doesn't matter. You can have a used copy, and that's fine too. If you don't have the Bader, then you need to contact Lori Martin or myself, and we will get one to you. We have some copies here in the office that we can send you. This is necessary so that you don't have any copyright infringement on making copies of everything else that is in the kit, because that's the original. So you need to have a copy of that. We're going to take a look at the table of contents so that you can see what is in the kit, so that you can kind of compare. If you have a kit, and like I had said before, each program should have received a kit when they came through STAR training originally, and I think just about every program in the state had been through STAR training at one point. However, because people leave, administrators come and go, you may not be able to locate your kit. If that is the case, if you don't have a kit, then email us and we will send you a link to be able to download all of the different pieces of the kit that you need. And this is what you would be getting. Here is the table of contents. There is the diagnostic reading assessment profile that goes in that manila folder. In the alphabetics assessment folder, you need learner copies and examiner copies of the Bader graded word lists, of the Sylvia Green's informal word analysis. There is a level 1 and a level 2 learner copies, and then examiner's records. Also with the Sylvia Green, there's an analysis key for each level, and there are examiner directions. So those are all downloadable. Fluency assessment, there is an assessment update piece that is new that you will need, and that's part of all of the files we have available. Then you have your Bader inventory for the learners and for the examiners, so you need copies of each. We recommend that those learner copies be made on cardstock so you can repeatedly use those for each student that you assess. They aren't going to be keeping those copies, so put it on
something heavy.
Heavy, maybe slip it into a cover sheet or laminate. You can consider doing that so that they last for a long time. Examiner copies, you need 1 for each level for each student that you are going to assess. And then there's a list of the passages. Vocabulary, 3 different things: word meaning test direction, examiner copies. The students don't get a copy, that's all done orally, and then examples of acceptable responses. Comprehension assessment folder, there are the passages for reading assessment for comprehension, learner copies, and examiner copies, and then a list of what those passages are. So if you cannot locate your kit, thank you, contact your administrator. It may be in a file somewhere. If they don't have it, let us know and we can send you the link so that you can download everything from Google Drive. If you do have a kit, and we're hoping that you do, you will just need to get some updates. There's a fluency assessment update. There's a new diagnostic reading assessment profile. There's about 4 different files that you will need to have to update your kit. And we are going to post those. We're going to upload them onto the discussion forum, so you will be able to grab those off of the toolkit if you go out to the discussion forum. If you have any other questions about this kit, please email Lori Martin or myself, and we will be happy to get back to you, because, like I said, everyone needs a kit when you start doing those assessments. So let's go to the next PowerPoint slide, and There we are, Lori Martin on the left, myself on the right. This was a summer picture where we could dress much lighter than we are today in this frigid January weather. We have separated the participants into teams, and it doesn't look like they're even, but they really pretty much are, because some teams are much larger than others. And on the left, you can see Lori Martin is going to primarily monitor the portfolios for the teams listed there, Asian Human Services, Heartland, and so on. And then on the right-hand side are the programs that I will be primarily monitoring. Some of those only have 1 or 2 or 3 people, and so that's how we've divided that. And you can see our contact information there as well. We are here to coach you through this and to help you. It's a facilitated training, very similar to an online course that you might take through a college or a university. So that is our role, is to help you to learn the material and get through the toolkit.
So recently, actually yesterday, we were informed by the STAR national office that emails had gone out to people telling you that you had access to the STAR toolkit. Some people appear to have received those emails and were able to get in right away, but we have received messages from several people who were not able to locate those automatic messages that STAR sends out. So if that is the case, there is kind of an alternative way to access the toolkit. And you can see it on the screen here. You go to the STAR toolkit at that link, star.links.ed.gov. Log in using your full name or your email address. Make sure it's the email address at which you've been receiving all of the STAR emails, because that is the email address that we supplied to the STAR National Office. And then you use a special password that's been created for Illinois people, and that is in capital letters, ILSTAR, and then the numeral 1. So again, ILSTAR 1, all caps. When you're in, you will be able to, you will see your team. You will, at the top, there will be something asking you to fill out a participant agreement form, and you'll click on that, you'll open it, you'll answer the questions and submit it. And then you should be able to get into the discussion forum, the modules, etc. You should also be able to then edit your profile, change your password, things like that. If you wind up having problems with that, the help email is projectstar@manhattanstrategy.com. Sorry, I thought I could somehow highlight that for you, but I guess I can't. So it's projectstar@manhattanstrategy.com if you're not able to get into the toolkit at all. Once you're able to get in, do fill out that participant agreement form, reply to the welcome message that's in the discussion forum, and then proceed to watch Module 1 and then Module 3 and then continue. So that's it. Thank you. And if you have questions, I'm going to go to the previous slide. Please contact either myself, Lori Martin, or Laura Sherwood at the email or telephone numbers shown on the screen.
And we thank you for listening. If you have any questions about what you just heard in this recording, feel free to contact us, and we are looking forward to working with you. We will see you face-to-face in April.
In April, right. Mm-hmm. Thank you.